Hi there, my name is Denise, and I'm the host of the Relaxation Lounge. And I love coming on here and having amazing guests so that they can share different techniques and tips to reduce the stress in your life. And today I've got Beverly Akhurst, and she's the owner of Ocean Breath Yoga and Ritam of Life. And she's the co founder of the Meditation Demystified free online meditation conference. She's a karma yoga teacher, nature wellness guide, storyteller, facilitator, and Ritam coach. So welcome, Beverly.
Thank you, Denise. How are you doing today?
Great. Now, a lot of people that I do interview here have a story to share about how they got to helping women reduce the stress and making their lives a more joyful and happier life. So, can you share your story with us today?
Hmm. My story has many levels. I have many, like what I call butterfly moments, chrysalis moments, but I think the one that really shifted my world completely was just after I turned 40, in my 40s, my father developed pancreatic cancer. And it was quite something. I'm 56 now, so this has been a while, but it was a very intense time, not a lot of family. We have a very small family. So it was my mom and I spending a lot of time with him. And after he passed on, I had not one, not just two, but three ambulance rides to a hospital. And on the third one, they kept me in the hospital for a week on the cardiac unit. I spent a week with the 80-year-olds, and the doctors are saying, we don't even know how you're walking and talking. Your pulse rate is so low, you may as well, you're like this close to death. And yet I was still functioning. And I laid there in the hospital attached to all the machines and slept for 22 hours a day. 22 hours a day. And the seventh day I woke up. All the machines were beeping just fine. The doctor was confused, but insisted I probably needed to have an ablation, burn out a piece of my heart. There's a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
And possibly have a pacemaker by the age of 42. So I thought, okay, I've been doing yoga for 12 years. I took a break from it for my dad. So I went back to my yoga and everything's fine. I went slower in my yoga. I started participating in breath, in really feeling movement and being with myself, me. And the next year I was up in the Andes, 15,000 feet up in the Andes, hiking with my best friend for her 50th birthday. And I remember hitting the 15,000 mark, dropping into a wheel in this little saddle between the mountains, heart to the sky, thinking, wow, right, this is life. So that was my moment. That time in the hospital bed was this thought of what is it we do? What is it women are doing? Why do we push ourselves to the point where we're dropping, where we're killing ourselves for everything else and everybody else? I love my dad, but I should have been taking care of me in order to take care of him. So I decided to give everything up at that point in time. I became a yoga teacher. What everyone thought, in your 40s, you're doing what? You're becoming a yoga teacher. That thing you're told never to do as a living, but to do as a hobby, a side thing that you do. 5 years later, I had my own studio. I started my own teacher training school. I kept doing all the things people told me I shouldn't be doing. I should wait. I should learn more. And I just thought, screw it. I'm done with that kind of living. I'm going to do it as I feel it, as I feel it. And how often I realize are we taught to trust our feelings, to trust what our hearts want, to trust what our guts say? We're not. We're told to ignore them and be good, be proper, be all these things that women are expected to be. And if you're strong and powerful, be like a man so you can beat them at their own game. This is crazy. This is insane. So everything now, my life, it started with yoga, but it's transitioned into the space of wanting women to deeply know themselves, intimately know themselves. I spend every day learning the language of me. And I could go to the country of me now and speak really well, and I still have things to learn. And other people, I realize, are now at a kindergarten level of being able to speak with themselves. And it's time everybody gained some more knowledge, gained a better capacity to have a conversation with themselves. So nobody else can tell them they need to be fixed. Nobody else can tell them that they're wrong for feeling or doing what they want to do. It's time. That's it.
Like self-empowerment and giving yourself that permission is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go against the grain, yeah, it does cause a lot of stress.
Oh, and stress is the leading cause of all disease. There's,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's good stress, there's bad stress. We do need to stress our bones. We need to stress our tissues. We need to stress our mind in order for them to grow and function. But when you lay a constant layer of stress on everything, you wear it down. We were meant to be 90% of the day in rest and digest, that lovely relaxed space, and 10% in a stress, fight, flight, freeze, fawn environment. But instead, we're 90% of our day in a stress, in a fight or flight state, and we're only 10% in that rest and relax. And even that, I think, is lower than 10%, because how many people are actually restful in their sleep? So we have this thing where we're constantly attacking our bodies. Adrenaline is coursing through us. And adrenaline tells cortisol to turn on, because cortisol is meant to repair things and inflame tissues so they can repair, but nothing needs to be repaired. So instead, we're dumping inflammation hormones into our entire system, into our organs, our tissues. And when something's inflamed, it causes disease. And it's simply because we're at this level of stress. Everything, every thought, every action, how we have to be, what we have to do, how many things we need to get accomplished. And it's like, what? When will we have enough? When will we do enough? Where we realize the biggest thing we can accomplish is get to know us so that we find a level of wellness, of well-being that serves us. And it's, you'll hear it over and over when you go to different meditation classes, yoga classes. Put on your mask first. I worked for an airline. If there's an emergency, you don't try and grab an oxygen mask and put it on somebody else, because you're going to pass out while you're doing that. You put it on yourself so you can help everyone else around you that you love. And not one of us is really remembering to put that mask on. We're trying to do so much and prove something to whom, I'm not sure. And we're all passing out. We're losing that connection. That's that faint or fawn response that moves past fight or flight. We don't even talk about that. If you've ever heard of the polyvagal theory that Stephen Porges developed many long years ago, and that's finally being observed, fight or flight is actually not a bad state, because at least you're still active, you're still doing something. But it's the freeze and fawn that comes after, when you finally give up, where you just are frozen, catatonic, like an animal that's just about to die because another animal has got it. It freezes. And fawn is that thing, it's like, I'll do whatever anybody wants, anything anybody wants, so that I'm safe, so that I have my job, so that I have whatever it is. And we can't come back out because our system doesn't want to go back through the fight or flight phase. It's afraid of that. So it stays here, which means we stay in constant stress, we stay in trauma, we stay in places that cannot ever serve our hearts. And we need to find ways to do that. Breath, go out in nature, walk around. And as soon as you step out, if you think, well, what can nature do? Remember the last time you went and stood and watched the sunset. What did you do? Oh, it's beautiful. And all of a sudden, everything goes down, because now you're reconnected to that thing you were born from, nature. And you remember that all that other to-do list isn't as important, that this moment is everything. You see a newborn baby. Look at that. How sweet. There is not a baby that you don't go, oh my God. This is something, this being that knows what life is all about. It is the epitome of everything we used to be. That's, I think, why we resonate so much with it. They're not layered up and should. They're just gleeful. They're grabbing their feet. They're grabbing their toes. They're moving. They're shifting. And it's beauty. And we go, I want that again.
Yeah. I know we put ourselves in such ruts. It's just horrible. And I mean, I was like you, I ended up in the hospital as well. And for what?
Exactly. For what?
Basically, if I don't show up for work, they will replace me and it'll happen to the next person.
Yeah.
It's not a fun thing. And one of the things I read your little bio that you sent to me, and I the last few mornings I've been getting up. We've had really clear, beautiful days. And the new moon was just like amazing. So I know you do some moon and sun cycle work. Could you share
Yeah.
a little bit about that as well?
Well, yeah, it's so very highly related to stress, especially for women. We live in, and I want to make this clear as I say it, masculine and feminine doesn't mean men or women. It's the energy of life. Sun is a masculine energy. It's that fire and force that brings life, but it isn't life. The feminine is the moon energy, and it's which is the flow of tides, it's waters, it's earth, it's everything material. And the moon has an effect on that. That's why we have moon cycles. So as I say that, now that you know feminine, masculine don't mean men and women, I will say women are dominated by masculine energy. We live in a world that is completely dominated by the masculine. Masculine isn't growth, it's focus and it's forward motion. And what is it we do? We set an alarm, we get up every day, and a lot of people go to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's a testosterone cycle. The entire world and work industry is built on a testosterone cycle. Get up, boom, get things done, go in, go to work, pound things through, finish the day. When the testosterone is coming down, then you go home, eat your supper, play with the kids, do whatever it is, and get up again and do this with the cycle of the sun. And we don't acknowledge the evenings and the moon as much. But for women, imagine what would happen if businesses, especially ones run by women, focused on a moon cycle. You would go by weekly increments. I know this all the time. I don't even have to have looked at a moon chart to know what is going on with the moon when I pay attention to how I'm reacting to things. The moon cycle, full moon is the masculine shining onto the feminine. So we're kind of being overpowered by this. This is a great time in your workplace or in your business or in your life in any way, shape, or form to not let that dominate things, but instead sit down and have this clarity of what it is you want to get done, make all the lists, move it through. And then as you move towards the half moon, there's the great energy in those 7 days of planning, of creating, because you're softening, the energy is softening, the feminine is moving away from the moon and starting to see herself again. So we can start to plan for what it is we can do, get everything in motion. And then when the new moon hits and the feminine is present, then we can function in this very creative capacity and we can plan and we can create, because that's when the sweetness comes in. Crops sometimes are harvested in the moonlight because literally that's when the sweetness arrives in the plant. And if you pick it, then there's a sweetness picked on the full moon. So we have this thing where we get everything gathered, we have this idea, and the next flow is into the last half before the full moon again. And in those 7 days, pay attention. You can do everything. You can multitask like crazy. It doesn't matter what is on the list, it gets done and you power through. And you're going morning to evening going, wow, what is happening? And can you imagine how much would get done? How much would be created by businesses if they considered this rather than trying to force people into cycles that they don't exist within? Even men don't even realize that the testosterone cycle would mean they get up, exercise, have breakfast, go in, do not have a meeting because you're too forceful at that time. Just sit down in your office, get everything done that you can. And then after lunch in the afternoon, then have meetings where you can converse with people because testosterone is coming down, less aggression, less power. So you can actually work out ideas with people. But we're just so out of touch with what we really are, who we really are, that this doesn't happen. But we need to shift that. We need to start embracing who we truly are and stop forcing ourselves to work only within a masculine environment of focus and forward motion. Sometimes you need to sit back and let ebb and flow happen, those big tides, and then move into the space that's been created.
Yeah, it's I know myself, the moon really affects me. And I'm like you as well.
Mm.
Like I don't need to see the moon to know what it's doing out there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, right.
Because yeah, I have so much energy like just before the full moon, and I don't get sleep either. And the minute the
Mhm.
full moon hits, I'm sleeping. And it's like completely different, Denise. It's amazing. And
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, so what is a Ritam coach? What is Ritam?
Yeah, that is my thing. And I say my thing, it's how I function. Ritam is not mine. Ritam is a Sanskrit word. It is the root, and this is, I really think we could all use to really start to understand language a bit more because it would mean far more to us. So Ritam is the root of these words: rituals, rites, and rhythm. They all come from this word, and the meaning of Ritam is the underlying laws of nature that govern everything of the material world. And that's everything in the universe that's material. And if that sounds a little flaky, think about it. That's what physics is built on. All of science is built on that there are laws of nature that govern everything that you cannot change. And yet we try and fight against these laws of nature. So when we come back into a flow with the rhythm of nature, we find our own rhythm. And we are out of touch with rhythm, the cycles of the moon, how we connect with our food, how we connect with what our bodies require. We're locked in. Watch people walking down the street. They're either on their phones like this, hunched out, or they're walking and their hips are locked in. They're moving through life without moving. The hips should move. Everything should move. This is nature. We should be this loose and mobile, flowing thing. We should understand that when we put food in our mouth, it's something that feeds what's alive in us. It's what makes us every day. This is what we wear. We wear this beautiful thing, but it's not a dead thing. It's not just this chunk of something around us. We are made up of
Just to stop you, you're talking about skin because the people just listening, they
Oh, sorry. Yes. I'm talking about skin. I'm talking about the whole body. Yes, this. Can you not see what this is? They're all going, what? So this body, this whole body, the skin, the body, every piece of material that surrounds us. Because when I say us, if you tell me you're your finger, no. Really? Are you a finger? Are you your arm? No. These are all the things that surround you. You exist within this body, this whole source of body. And the body is made up of only 40 trillion cells that you can call human. The rest of it is quadrillions of cells that are bacteria and viruses and fungi and microbes and all these things that have their own digestive systems, their own nervous systems, their own life. And if you were to stop and think that, well, if they're existing around me, why? It's because they've chosen to be here. Like, why else would they still be here? If they're alive and they have their own life form, they have chosen to surround me and hang out with me for the whole of my life. And if that is the case, and you can just imagine quadrillions of little beings with little faces looking at you going, God, you're just so amazing. I wanted to be with you your whole life. You're just so incredible, amazing. But we don't think we're amazing. So we don't treat them as if they're amazing. And we don't feed them properly. Then we come out of rhythm. That's when we start again getting sick. That's when we become stressed. That's when life just doesn't feel like it's of any importance. When we come back into rhythm, we find ritam. We start functioning within the laws of nature. I'm meant to sleep for a certain amount of time. I'm different from you. You are meant to sleep a different amount of time than me. We are all so incredibly unique and individual. Keto diet might work for you. It might not work for me because I'm so incredibly individual. Type of exercise, maybe running for you at your age and my age. We have different things that we need to do for our bodies, harder, softer, but we need to find the rhythm. We need to move again, embrace movement, not think we're icky, like people are looking at us and, oh my God, I better not. I remember bless my sister Scott and socks, in my 20s, being at a bar, and my sister was there and I was dancing and I was just moving, and she grabbed me, she goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dancing." I'm like, I feel alive with music. And she thought like, "Oh my God, you should just be much more stiff and steady." And I, these are the messages we're given by the people that know us. And why are we hiding ourselves? Why are we burying ourselves when our truest essence is being in motion, being alive, having our hearts shared to the world? So this is Ritam, remembering to be in rhythm, to work with the cycles, to move like nature does, to flow, to know when to be steady and still, whether it's in a physical form, a mental form, an energetic form. Once we come into that ritam, we find rituals that serve us every day. Brushing your teeth can be a ritual, but we find rituals that we do every day so that we embrace our day and feel connected to it. Life changes. And this is what I coach people on, how to find the ritam of their life, not the one for me. A flower grows different than a tree. So figuring out what it is.
I love that. So we're going to start wrapping it up. What special technique or tip can you offer the listeners here to start reducing their stress right now? I know you mentioned just getting out in nature. Is there anything else that you can offer for them?
There's so much, and everybody has their own unique doorway in because it has to resonate. But I would say nature, definitely head and tails above everything. That's where we do feel that rhythm. But I think one of the easy, well, I say easy, and it can take a long time to really get there, but one of the most accessible doorways is start with the physical body, because we can see it, we can feel the physical body. So I think one of the most accessible doorways is posture. I do not stop every day with my students, my clients. It's about the posture. If you're on a phone and you're on a computer all day, I guarantee you your shoulders roll forward, your spine rolls back. And in that simple act, you've let gravity now press down on you. There's no levity to life anymore. Muscles that are meant to lift you are now being overworked and wearing down. The muscles that were meant to support the chest, to open, to breathe, are contracted, short, immobile, so we can't get oxygen into our lungs. This has a downline effect on our organs. It has an effect on our minds because our brains are now moving into that space of the reptile brain that is about fight or flight because we can't access our neocortex. Our nerves are under stress, no blood flows between mind and body. So just finding a moment to be in posture, to let the shoulders drop back, to let the chest lift up and take a deep breath in, completely changes your experience of each day. People get that tired effect midday when they're working on a computer and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so tired. My head is ready to fall off. I need to just lie down." You stand up, you pull your shoulders back, lift your chest, take a breath. It's gone. It's gone. Your mind comes alive again. It was just lacking oxygen, lacking accessibility. So for me, posture, door number one. And it's amazing how hard it is to actually remember what that means besides stand straight. It's waking up muscles that are amnesiacs at this point in time. And once that is connected, then you can move into those other more esoteric parts, the energy body, the mind body, the sensory body. But there has to be a starting point. And I think posture, if you look around, is the first thing we have to really all look at.
Yeah. And it's so simple, but it's something that I agree. You look at the way people walk down the street with their phones and all crunched over, and especially the kids these days, like it's just scary.
It's scary. It's kind of sad because I can tell you, I can look at somebody. My students call me a body whisperer because I can look at you, but it's just because I pay such attention. I can look and say, "You've got knee problems, you've got sore hips, your back, you must have headaches all day long." And kids, how many kids are getting teeth pulled that they should never have pulled because their palates are too narrow for their teeth? Well, guess what? Because they're all sitting with their shoulders hunched, their heads are pulled forward and their palates narrow. All you need to do is get kids to learn how to be in their posture. Their heads come back into position, The tongue will now naturally lift to the palate and help spread it open, and the teeth get to stay. They just need to reshape their palates.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to be putting all your information wherever someone's listening or whether someone's watching. Is there anything you've got to offer our listeners today?
I do. I do many different things in life. You're welcome to all of them. Anyone who's listening, retreats, all of it. But today's offer, anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you want to work with me, I'm offering 10% off cost of working. I do 3-month, 6-month, and year-long programs with women. We can always have a short meeting first, connect with me, because I do believe, because everyone's so unique and different, that we should be able to resonate with each other. I will only work with people who want to commit to themselves. I'm pouring my heart, my life into this. So if you don't want to commit and you want to be fixed, you're not for me. There's a lot of just yoga studios and people, doing some movement practice. I want you to commit to wanting something different. And I will be starting up a couple of new programs in the new year and putting some resources online. So if you connect with me after December 31st, I'm not sure when this podcast is coming out, but after December 31st, I will be creating some resources. So connect with me and you will be able to access those resources for free.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Beverly. It was such great information.
Thank you, Denise, for doing this, for sharing this with so many women. It's needed out there. So I thank you.
I love it. I love meeting
work.
all these different people and, just getting the information out there.
Yeah, well, I know how much work it is. So there's such gratitude for what you are putting into the world.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for this episode and thank you for listening. If you're looking for more ways to reduce the stress in your life, please visit www.therelaxationlounge.info. Here I've got access to a free Facebook page where you can get support, information on the podcast where I interview different individuals who share their techniques to help you reduce your stress, plus a membership that you can join where you can come and do stress-reducing practice on demand anytime you need to reduce the stress in your life and create more happiness in your world. I'll see you in the lounge.